Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Laura, and usually on this channel you can find me making things. Today, I am going to be making this Slouchy hexagon pullover. It's a really easy pattern. It's only made up of 4 pieces. We're going to be making 2 body pieces in the shape of hexagons, and then we're going to be doing 2 sleeves. They're gonna have a little bit of a puffiness to them. Nothing too crazy, but it's gonna be a really cute wide-necked pullover. If you like having the written patterns, join my Patreon. For $2 a month, you can have access to all of my bullet journal patterns. Everything that I come up with, I post on there, so you can have access to, let me see some that are already up there. We've got the fingerless gloves up there, we've got the basic fitted sleeve, the quick and easy ribbed beanie. I've got tutorials up for how to single crochet and another ribbed fingerless glove with a different pattern. Pretty much every pattern that I make moving forward, I'm going to be taking pictures of it and posting it on the Patreon so you can have access to an actual written copy. So if that sounds like it's up your alley, join the Patreon. With the Patreon that you get the free patterns, you also get access to our group Discord. So we have a community going in Discord. If that sounds like it's up your alley, check out the links. If not, don't worry. The pattern here is still going to be available as a video tutorial, and that is always free. Okay, so to get started on this pattern, you're gonna need some yarn. I'm using this OPI sock yarn. It's nylon wool, and I would say it's probably like a 2 in terms of its weight, like a 2, I would think. And I'm gonna be using a 5.5mm hook. You can change the yarn and the hook, but your fabric's gonna drape differently. If you see here, since I used double crochets and a thin yarn, the fabric I'm using has a really nice sort of cozy drape. It's nothing too dense. It's not going to be a super hot sweater, which is great because it is made of wool. So I wanted to go with something a little bit more relaxed moving into spring. So you'll need wool or yarn, you'll need a crochet hook, and then for putting it together, you'll need either your crochet hook or a yarn needle. I think I'll be doing it with a crochet hook, and you'll also need your scissors just to break your yarn. So grab your stuff and let's do it. All right, so to get started, we are going to begin with a slip knot. From there, I am going to begin by chaining 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then slip stitch into the first chain that you made. Not the first chain from the hook, the first chain that you made. That way we're going to make a little circle. After you slip stitch, do a chain of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we've got a little circle with a stick coming out of the top. And now we're going to open up that donut that we did with the chain 4. And we're going to double crochet into that donut 3 times. Why can I not see the hole that I just made? All right, so I'm gonna double crochet 3 times into that middle circle. 1, and 2, and 3. And now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to double crochet 3 times into that center hole again. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to chain 2 again, 1 and 2. Then we're going to double crochet 3 times into that center hole again. We're going to be doing this a total of 5 times. So just in case you're wondering, 5 times we're going to do this repeat of 3 double crochet, chain 2. And now we have 5 repeats of the 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But that first chain 5 actually represents a double crochet, and then a chain 2. So to make it a hexagon, which is what this is going to be, we need 6 sides to it. Right now we only have 5. Instead of doing 3 double crochets for that last set, we're only going to have to do 2, because that first chain 5 actually makes up your first double crochet as well. So we're going to do 2 more double crochets into the middle. 1 and 2. And then we are going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain. So we've got the chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, chain 4, chain 5. We want those 2 chains to represent the chain 2 we want it to. So we don't want to be just slip stitching the whole thing together. We want to slip stitch into the 3rd chain from the beginning. And we're just going to slip stitch that round together. And now we've got ourselves a little hexagon. Now we're going to chain 5 again. So that was round 1. For round 2, we're going to start with a chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we are going to use that chain 2 space, and we are going to do a double crochet into that chain 2 space, just under the whole chain. We're going to do 1 double crochet. Then in these double crochets, the 3, we're going to do a double crochet into each of those, into the top of each of those stitches. 1 and 2 and 3. There we go. And now we are at another chain 2, the big space. In here, we're going to do a double crochet, a chain 2, and a double crochet. So this part now is going to be where our corners are. So we do, oops, not a single crochet, Laura. We're going to do a double crochet, 1, and then we're going to do a chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're going to do another double crochet into that same chain 2 space. And that makes up our new corner for this row. Now we're back at those 3 double crochets from the previous. We're going to do double crochets into the top of each of those stitches, just 1 double crochet per stitch. And once you've finished your 3 double crochets, you're going to be back at another corner. So in that chain 2 space, again, we're going to do a double crochet, followed by a chain 2, 1 and 2, followed by another double crochet, all in the same stitch for that one. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So now we're back at those 3 double crochets. We're going to just double crochet once into each stitch. I'm going to just repeat the rest of this all the way around. So it's just going to be 3 double crochets, and then a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, and then 3 double crochets, and then a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. Once you start moving through this, it gets a little bit quicker, a little bit easier. The first 2 rounds are always the most difficult. So if you're struggling and you need to slow this down, don't fret. The first 2 rounds of any circle pattern are always the most difficult. At least for me, that's the case. So just take your time for the first couple of rounds. After that, you'll notice the pattern becomes a little bit more intuitive. You can tell every time that you get to a new corner, and it gets just a little bit easier. So I am just rounding my last set of 3 double crochets. There we go. Oops. Now I'm at my last corner. I'm going to do a double crochet, and then chain 2, and then a double crochet. And then there are 2 more stitches left, because that chain 5 from the beginning of the row is actually where we are counting it as a double crochet. So we're going to do 2 more double crochets here. There's 1, and there, oops. There's 2. And now we are going to slip stitch into the 3rd chain. So 1, 2, 3, just to connect the round. There we go. And then we are going to go from there with a chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let me just stretch this out so you can see that it's already starting to have that hexagon shape. The little corners are starting to come out there. See? So now we're on round number 3. All right, so now for round number 3, we're going to begin the same way again. We're going to do a double crochet into that chain 2 space, and then we're going to double crochet in each of those double crochet stitches from the previous round. From here on, I'm going to say double crochet to corner, and from that I mean double crochet into the top of each of those double crochet stitches from the previous round. So I'm double crocheting to the corner, and now I'm at my corner. So I'm going to do a double crochet, and then a chain 2, 1 and 2, and then another double crochet. And then again, I am going to double crochet in each stitch until we reach the next corner. At this point, I think you can see what I mean by it gets a little bit easier as you keep going, because now it's really clear where the corners are. So as soon as you reach a corner, you can see, oh, there's a big space. That's where I do my double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. And if there is no big space, then you're just doing regular double crochet. By the way, if you don't know how to do a double crochet or any part of this project seems complicated, don't worry about it. I've got tutorials for every one of the stitches that I use in this pattern. We're going to be doing a front post double crochet, a back post double crochet, a slip stitch, and a double crochet. I think that's all the stitches we use for this one. So if any of those stitches are ones that you don't know yet, don't worry about it. I'm going to link all of those tutorials in the description box down below. As well, I'll put them in the iCard, so if you click over at the top corner of the video, you will see all of the tutorials you need to master this pullover, jumper, sweater, long sleeve top. I still haven't really decided what it is. Since this is such a sort of gappy, light fabric, I don't know if it really should be called a sweater. That's why I labeled it a pullover, because I feel like that can be not necessarily a warm thing, whereas a sweater kind of tells me it's going to be a warm garment. Anyway, I'm just making my way around this row number 3, and from here it's actually going to be much of the same. The body pieces are actually just large hexagons, so this one's great. Once you get past row 3, you can just turn on a movie and keep going around the circle. It's going to be from rows 4 until 25. It's all going to be the same. So it's just going to be one large hexagon for 25 rounds. And that is going to give a measurement for about a medium. If you have a larger size or you want to go smaller, you might be able to get away with maybe 20 rounds for a small size. And then you just keep going up more rows as you need a larger size. You just keep getting it larger. Basically, one side of the hexagon needs to measure half of the length of around your waist. I tried to say that slow so it would be a little bit less confusing. So one side of the hexagon needs to measure halfway around your waist. Two sides of the hexagon should measure the same as all the way around your waist, because we're going to be sewing these two hexagons together, and then the hole left at the bottom is going to be your waist, the hole at the top is going to be where our head comes out, and we're going to be attaching sleeves to two of the other sides. I'm going to slip stitch the round together and chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now it's pretty clear that that's a hexagon. And it looks pretty good to me. The start of the row, the gap is going to look a lot more defined at the beginning. Don't worry about it. It's going to stretch out and adjust after we block the final pieces. It'll look a lot less obvious, I want to say. So now I'm going to get started on my round 4. I'm going to start with a double crochet, and then I am going to make my way across with double crochets until I reach a corner. By the way, if you haven't yet, don't forget to click the like button. It really helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. So if you could take a second and just click the like button, thumbs up the video, It lets me know that you like this kind of content, and again, it really helps the channel. So click the like. And also, if you are new here and you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. I welcome you to join us on this super fun journey of handmade things. On this channel, I often do crochet, but I also do natural dye and mending, and what else do I do? Embroidery, hand sewing, all kinds of fun stuff. Sometimes I have chicken content, and I also live stream. If that sounds like it's up your alley, subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification bell. Apparently, not everybody gets notified of the videos unless you do that, so do it. Okay. Feel like I got all the things out there. No, I didn't. What else do I need to tell you? Join Patreon, that's the other thing. Support the channel. Oh, I have some other exciting news. If you've been following me for a little while, you may have already heard about this, but in the last video, I talked about how I finally caught the feral cat that's been roaming about. Well, she's not feral. More likely, she is a dumped stray, because she's pretty friendly now that she's inside. She was a little bit skittish outside and wasn't a big fan of people, but now that she's inside, she'll purr if you pet her, and she loves to have her tummy rubbed. We're calling her Peekaboo. She's all gray, and I'll insert a little bit of footage right here just so you can see how sweet she is. Well, she is in fact pregnant. I thought she was because she looked round even though she's a young cat, but she is. I've felt the kittens kicking, and it looks like we've got anywhere from about a week or 2 weeks left until she has a bunch of kittens. But I'm glad we've got her because she's gonna have her kittens safe inside, and that way we can get them all vetted, and then right after that we can get her spayed so that she doesn't have any more kittens. The poor little girl. Last spring she was just a kitten, or at least she was a very young cat. So I'm very happy to have gotten her inside, and if you've been following that journey along, just know we've got her, and her babies and her are both going to be safe, and I actually already have some homes for a few of the babies, so what should we call them? I'm assuming there's going to be anywhere between 4 and 8 kittens, and I love themed names. I love cats and dogs and birds and whatever with themed names. For example, all of my chickens are named after flowers. And my dogs growing up were always kings and queens. So what do you think for themed names, if there's 4 or 6 or 8 kittens, what do you think we should call them? The live stream came up with some really great ones that I thought were so cute. So if you have any good ideas for what we could call those kittens, let me know. And also, if you want to see the kitten birth, a video about the kittens or about the cat, let me know too, because I have been taking footage because I am obsessed with this cat now. But if you want a video dedicated to her and the kittens, let me know and I'll make it. I think that's everything. From here on, it's just going to be me crocheting a hexagon for the body piece. 25 rows is what I'm gonna do. I will tell you the measurement once I'm finished, but again, just crochet your hexagon until one side of the hexagon measures halfway around your waist. So measure your waist, probably around your hips because it's gonna be a sweater, and divide that measurement by 2. That's how long each of the sides of the hexagon need to be. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, just let me know and I will try to get to them. The best place for questions though is the Discord, because there's a whole group of people who like to answer questions and who are great at crochet and knitting and all kinds of stuff. All right, so I'm just gonna keep crocheting until my hexagon is done, and when I get to 25 rows, I'll show you where we're at and we'll go from there. All right, so I've just finished my hexagon. That took a couple of hours, I'm not gonna lie. And it's looking pretty cool, I think. Let me just move some of my cute things out of the way. Look at this, isn't that cute? These are my Oxalis triangularis cuttings. This is my string of hearts, and this one right here is my favorite plant, I think. It's my wax ivy. Senecio macroglossus variegata, for you planty folk. All right, so here is my hexagon. You can't quite see the whole hexagon in the shot because I'm using a macro lens for this, but you can see that it is cool, really pretty. And one side of the hexagon measures halfway around my waist. So you gotta make 2 of these though. So make 2 hexagons, and then it's gonna be time for us to get into the sleeve, which honestly is kind of very exciting for me. It's a very fun sleeve. So let's do that now. I'm gonna start the sleeve again with a slip knot. And we are going, oh, let me move my stuff back in. It's not cute without any aesthetic stuff. Am I even a YouTube channel if I don't have a vibe? All right. So for the sleeve, we are going to start with a slip knot, and then we are going to do a chain of 33. So 1, 2, 3, 32, 33. All right, now in the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're going to do a double crochet. Just a regular double crochet in the 4th chain from the hook. From there, we are going to double crochet all the way across. Nothing special, nothing crazy, just double crochet all the way across. At the end of this row, chain 2 and turn. I forgot to say, if you really like this yarn, I will link it in the description below. I'll try and find it online and get a link for you. This was sent to me by the lovely Nancy, who is part of our live stream community. She sent it to me along with a huge amount of yarn last Christmas. I'm still working through the amazing amount of yarn she sent, and this is one of the many balls of yarn, and I just love the color. So if you love the color too, which I understand, I'll try to find that yarn for you so you can use the exact same yarn and get this awesome tie-dye effect on your hexagon sweater. All right, and here I am just coming up to the end of that double crochet row. And like I said, at the end, you're gonna chain 2 and turn, chain 1 and chain 2. And here is where we are going to get started with the front post double crochet, back post double crochet. Again, if you don't know what that is, don't panic. I am going to go through it now, but I do have a detailed tutorial on it as well. So for the first stitch of the 2nd row now, we're going to do a front post double crochet. So what that means is we're going to pull those double crochets apart so they have a nice big gap in between them, and then insert your hook behind the whole post of the double crochet. And then just complete a double crochet as normal, but with your hook having been gone through a completely different spot. The next stitch, we're going to do a back post double crochet. So instead of going in front of the post, we're going to come behind the whole work, put the hook in front of the post, and pull that post back and complete, a double crochet. And then we're going to repeat. We're going to do a front post double crochet next, and then a back post double crochet. And we're going to repeat that all the way across, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, until you get to the last stitch of the row. And I will meet you there because we're going to do something a little different at the last stitch of the row, just to ensure that we keep our edges nice and straight, and so we give ourselves a good base for when we are sewing the sleeve together in the end. But I'll show you when we get there. So just front post double crochet, back post double crochet across the entire row. If the 33 chain is not long enough to make it around your wrist, another time where I'm going to tell you don't panic, don't worry about it, you can increase the number of chains at the beginning. Just increase it in groups of 4. That way the instructions that I'm giving you are still going to work if you increase or decrease in chains of 4. So if you're doing it at 33, you're going to want to jump 4 up to 37 or 4 down to 29. You could do it without counting and just do fewer, but your sleeve isn't going to be symmetrical if you do it that way. So in groups of 4, you can increase or decrease that initial chain in order to increase or decrease the size of the cuff of your sleeve. All right, and so for the last stitch, we're going to insert the hook into the chain 2 space at the end of the row, where you chain 2 to turn around and start your double crochets. You're going to insert the hook into that actual space and complete a double crochet. That's going to ensure that you have a nice straight edge. That's the only thing I wanted to let you know. Then we're going to chain 2 and turn it around. You might be able to start to see the rib stitch already at this point. It's got that nice little ripple to it. And from here, we're going to be doing the opposite that we did on the first row. We're still using the same stitches, we're just doing them in the opposite order. So we started the last row with a front post double crochet. We're starting this row with a back post double crochet. And that is just going to maintain our rib stitch. If you did a front post double crochet for the first stitch, you would end up with more of a basket weave texture, which is fine too. Just for this one, we're going with a rib stitch. For the second stitch, we're going to be doing a front post double crochet. And from there, it's just going to be a repeat of that all the way across. Do the next row starting with a back post double crochet, and then do the same repeat. Back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, front post. At the end of the row, you're going to do the same thing where you insert the hook into that chain 2 space from the previous row, just in order to create a final double crochet to straighten the edge of the row out, and to give yourself a good base when we put the sweater together. I've done this, this cuff a million times, so if you're finding this a little bit too quick, that's okay. I have really good slow tutorials on how to do the cuff of a sweater, how to do the front post double crochet, back post double crochet, rib stitch. So again, it's going to be linked in the description. So if this seems a little bit too quick, or if my instructions aren't quite clear enough for you, if you're a brand new beginner and you don't know these stitches, don't fret. So I'm going to repeat this all the way across for this third row, the back post, front post double crochets. For the 4th and 5th row, I'm going to continue on with that pattern. So on the 4th row, I'm going to start with a front post double crochet again. And then on the 5th row, I'm going to start with a back post double crochet again. I'm going to do a total of 5 rows in this rib stitch. So I'm going to do that quickly. I'm going to zoom through that because it's just the exact same stitch over and over again. And when I get to the end of my 5 rows, I will show you what it's looking like. We'll take a little measurement so you can see how long that 5 rows is. And you can determine if you want to go a few extra rows or if the 5 rows is too much for you. We just want to be keeping it in odd numbers from here though. For the rib stitch, you want to be 3 rows, 5 rows, 7 rows, odd number rows for your rib stitch. But you can go as long as you want. If you want to have a big folded over cuff, you could do, I don't know, 15 rows if you want. Might be a little crazy long, but you do you. I'm going to be doing 5 rows for mine. So I will see you back when I finish my 5 rows. Oh, and while I'm zooming through this, I know this is a very talky tutorial. I apologize for those of you that are just looking for the instructions. I apologize, but I am a talky person, so that's what's happening. I have another tip. If you are someone who has issues with your tension and you are not great at keeping your tension the same for multiple projects or for doubles of things, what I would recommend is doing the cuff of your sleeves. Do both cuffs. Like, do the first cuff and immediately do the second cuff. Don't do the whole first sleeve if you have tension issues, because if you do the whole first sleeve and then you come back and start your second sleeve with a different tension, you're going to have 2 different feeling sleeves, and it's uncomfortable in like an unclear way. You'll know something's off, but it won't necessarily be clear what is off. So if you have tension issues, I would recommend make your first cuff, your rib stitch, up to 5 rows, and then start your second cuff and do the second cuff before you get started on finishing up the sleeve. That way you know at least the cuffs are going to have a really nice consistent tension, and they will feel the same when you're wearing them. Because that's the part that's going to touch your hands, so that's going to be the part that you notice if the tension is off. Okay, that's all. Now I'll see you when I finish the cuff. Okay, so I just finished my cuff, and it looks a little short, but I promise it stretches, and it ends up being a lot stretchier than it kind of looks at the beginning. But anyway, let me give you the measurements so that you've got an idea of how big this is going to be. So, once it's a little bit blocked out and stretched, it's about 8 inches by just about 2 inches. So 8 by 2 is how big I'm making mine. Around my wrist is 6 inches. So it's giving me a little bit of extra room. But even so, it's got to fit around your hand. So I guess even a better measurement you might want to take is around the widest part of your hand. You're going to want it to be about there, and mine is 8 inches. So once it's sewn together though, it's gonna have a lot of give, so it stretches well beyond that and over time as well. But now we are done with the ribbed stitch part. We are moving on now to the actual sleeve part. So we're still going to be working in double crochets for this, which is great because it's a pretty easy stitch to master. And for the first row, we are going to do 2 double crochets in every single stitch across. And that's the whole thing. That's going to create a really nice increase for us. So it's going to have a little bit of a puffiness to it. It's just double crochets, but we're going to do 2 in each of the stitches. I'm actually putting my hook into the space between 2 double crochet posts. I find that to be a little bit easier for me on this first row than putting it into the top part of the stitch. So I'm not actually inserting into the V, not that top stitch where you usually do. Rather, I'm stitching into the big gap between the stitches, but still 2 double crochet stitches in every single stitch across. You'll see why as we keep going, how this is going to give a really cool sort of slouchy vibe to it. I feel like the slouchiness is coming from the sleeves more than it's coming from the body shape. Okay, so I'm going to zoom across and I will see you at the end of the row. Okay, and now I'm just coming up to the end of that first row where we've got all of those increases, which means we have double the amount of stitches now that we started off with. I'm just going to be doing the last 2 there. And after that, at the end of this row, you're going to chain 2 and turn. Last stitch for me. And then I'm going to, chain 1 and chain 2. There we go. And now we've got, oh, I love that yellow. Okay, now we're on to the 3rd row of the actual body part of the sleeve. So I am going to be referring to these first 5 rows. I think, what am I going to do in my pattern? Oh no, that's true. I am going to keep, so row 5, row 6 we've done. Now we're on row number 7. Ignore me. Okay. So for row number 7, we're going to start by putting a double crochet into that first, where the chain 2, not where the chain 2, excuse me, our last double crochet of the row. We're going to be increasing on either end, I guess I could say. So we're going to put a double crochet into that first stitch, which will act as an increase because our chain 2 behaves as a double crochet as well. So now we've got an increase at the beginning. Then we're going to just double crochet all the way across, and we're going to do 2 stitches on the last stitch. And we're going to keep that pattern all the way up to row number 40. We are going to be doing this same row, which basically means double crochet in every single stitch, but in the first stitch of the row and in the last stitch of the row, put 2 double crochets, an increase on either end, otherwise double crochet across. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. And that's going to be for 40 rows. So it's going to be quite a long time. We're going to be working on this one. It'll probably be at least a couple of hours in this part of the project. So make a tea and put on a movie and pause the video pretty much because it's going to take you a little bit. I am going to just work through mine, zoom through it because it's just double crochet. There's no trick to this. It's a very simple repeat. Double crochet in each stitch across, except for the first stitch and last stitch. In the first stitch and last stitch of every row, you're going to be doing 2 double crochets. What that means for the first stitch of every row, just as an extra amount of me talking, that means you're going to be putting a double crochet into the first stitch instead of skipping the first stitch. Your chain 2 behaves as that first double crochet, and then you're going to add another double crochet into the first stitch. If this is complex, too confusing, too wordy, let me know. Be nice about it because I do have feelings and I am a person. I'm doing my best with these instructions, but let me know what would make it easier for you to understand what I'm trying to say. Like I said though, I am going to zoom through this part and I will meet you back at row 40 when we've got a nice big rectangle sleeve and it's time to do a new part of the project, a new part of the sleeve. I will see you there. And here we are right at the end of row number 40. I'm just going to put my last increase here. At the end of this row, I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and turn. And now you can see all the beauty that is this sleeve. Oh, I love this color. Okay, but before we do our measurement, what we're going to be doing now from rows 41 up until row 47, we're going to be just double crocheting across. We're not doing increases anymore. So we're going to skip that first stitch where we've been putting our first double crochet. We're going to skip that and we're going to double crochet into the second stitch. And that's going to straighten out the row. Instead of having an increase, that'll straighten it out. And now, other than that, we're going to double crochet all the way across with no increase at the ends. So from row 41 to 47, stop increasing. Just do regular double crochets all the way across. That being said, here's my little tip part with this part of the instruction. If you made your hexagon much larger than mine, you may need to keep increasing on your sleeve. What we want in the end is for our sleeve to be able to fold over and be the same length as one side of the hexagon. My hexagon's all stretched out, so it looks like I'm wrong, but one side of your hexagon should be the same as your sleeve when your sleeve's folded in half, if that helps. So if you made your hexagon much larger than mine, you may need to keep increasing for several more rows. You may need to keep increasing all the way up to row number 47. 47 is going to give us a good sleeve length, so aim to finish your sleeve at 47 to 50 rows. For me, it's going to be 47 rows. Row 41 to 47 is just regular double crochet across. So I will finish that up and then I will show you what the sleeve is looking like, and we'll do a little measurement of the body piece and the sleeve. Don't forget, you need to make 2 sleeves and 2 body pieces for this project. Anywho, I'm going to zoom through this last part of the sleeve, for the next 7 rows, and I will come back here when that's done. See you then. Okay, it's been a couple of days, so apologies for that. But good news, I've finally finished the pieces. So I've got a body piece, another body piece, a sleeve, and another sleeve. I'm going to just measure them out now so that I can tell you roughly what my measurements are, so you can see if you're on the same track as me. Sleeve, let's do that one first. So because we have all of that increase at the bottom near the cuff, it's not going to lay totally flat. Don't worry about that because it's not going to matter. General shape though, you're going to have a big increase followed by a more general, gentle increase, and then it'll straighten up at the top. So across, mine is about 28 inches. Hopefully this is, yeah, about 14, that's perfect. So this should be double as wide as one side of your hexagon. So this is going to be folded over to make a sleeve. So like I said, 28 inches or 72 centimeters. The little bit that is worked up straight, mine is just under 4 inches or 10 centimeters. And the full length of my sleeve is about 21.5, 22 inches or 55 centimeters. And my cuff, it's about 2 inches right on. So I hope those measurements help. This looks so cool. I think this is gonna look really good when it's done. The final measurements for the hexagon, 14, 15-ish inches for each of the sides. So 37 to 39 centimeters for each of the sides. And let's do diagonally, the longest way across is about 29 inches or 75 centimeters. So I hope those measurements help. But now it's actually time to put it together. What we're going to do to begin is attach our shoulders. So if this is our neckline, we're going to take the other hexagon and we're going to attach like that. We want the neckline to be nice and big, but we do also want to have those two shoulders attached. So I'm going to attach the shoulders, and then after the shoulders are attached, I'm going to take the sleeves and I'm going to sew them along that side like that. And then I'm going to take the other sleeve and I'm going to sew it along this side like this. And then what we'll do is fold over everything, which will leave us with a sweater shaped thing. And then we'll sew along those bottom faces of the hexagon, along with the up side edge for where your armpit will be, and then we'll do along the sleeve. That's the plan. And then the final thing we're gonna do is add a ribbed cuff for around the bottom waistline. We're almost there, we're in the home stretch, so let's do it. All right, so I've got my two hexagon pieces, one on top of the other. I picked like a right side and a wrong side to my fabric. I feel like this side looks better and this side looks better. So if you have a right side and a wrong side, put the right sides together, because where we're working now, we're gonna be flipping this inside out. So it's going to, in the end, this is gonna be the inside of your sweater. So I'm just gonna take a stitch marker and I'm gonna attach right at the corner like that. And then I have to get a second stitch marker and I'll just attach that to the other corner. And this part is kind of up to you how far you want to go. I don't want my neckline to be completely off the shoulder. I do want it to have a little bit of structure to it because this is going to stretch out over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, let me see. Yeah, I think I'm going to do 10 stitches in on both sides. I'm just going to do blanket stitches. So I've got a little bit of yarn. All right, and what I'm gonna do is just do some blanket stitches into the first 10 stitches for my shoulders. If you want it to be more slouchy, like if you want like an off the shoulder sweater, you can just attach with like a knot right at the corners, and that's gonna give you like that off the shoulder 80s vibe, but that's not what I want. I want this to be something that I can wear all the time, and I don't like adjusting my clothing very much. So I will show you how I'm going to do that. First, I'm going to stick my needle where the stitch marker is, and I'm going to start this part with a knot. Don't worry, it's not going to show in your final thing, so I know that you're not supposed to tie knots, but I'm tying a knot so I know it's secure. And then for a blanket stitch, I'm just going to stick my needle into the first stitch on both sides. So the first stitch of the one piece of fabric and the first stitch of the second. I'm gonna pull it through. There's gonna be a loop. I'm gonna stick my needle through that loop. And when you pull that through, that's a blanket stitch. Like that. And then I'm gonna do that again in the next stitch. So I'm gonna put my needle through the top of the stitch, put my needle through the stitch on the other side. Then that loop, I'm gonna put my needle through the loop. And I'm gonna pull it closed. Now you've got 2. And then I'm gonna do that for 10 stitches. So there's 1, 2. Anyway, I did weaving with the end of the yarn, and I'm just gonna cut it after those 10 stitches. I'm gonna tie it to that initial knot, which will make me feel good about how secure it is. I'm gonna just double knot it. Again, this is gonna get hidden, so don't really worry about it that much. And now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, starting at the other corner. So first I'm gonna begin with my knot. Then I'm just gonna do 10 blanket stitches. Okay, so let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, we need 3 more. And 10. If this blanket stitch is not clear, if you don't understand what I did, don't worry. I'll link the tutorial for how to do that, how to do a blanket stitch for crochet work. I did a whole tutorial on it, so I'll link that in the description and in the iCard up in the corner of the screen right now. Also, I don't know if I said it, I probably have said it like 11 times. Like the video if you haven't yet, because it helps the channel and I would really appreciate it. All right, so I did my 10 stitches. Now I'm just gonna double knot where I tied it at the beginning. And now it's time to attach the sleeves. All right, so got that spread out. I'm gonna just take my sleeve. I'm gonna line it up. You can either count your stitches and pick your middle stitch, or you can just fold your sleeve in half, stretch it out, and then grab whatever stitch is most middle. It's usually pretty close to if you just count the stitches. Maybe you want to count the stitches. And now I'm going to take those little tails and I'm going to tie that middle stitch with those tails to the actual body pieces. And that's just gonna keep it so that I have, at least it's gonna be centered. That's the goal. Your sleeves will be centered. So there's that. And then I'm gonna pull the sleeve to stretch it so that it fits the entire length of both of these sides. And I'm gonna use my stitch marker. I'll just pull this to the center to show you. The corner of the hexagon should be the first stitch of your sleeve. So you can stitch mark those together or you can tie them together. But that's where we're gonna start sewing. And I'm gonna do the hexagon corner of this side with the first stitch on that side of the sleeve. Now we're gonna do a blanket stitch again. You can do a single crochet here or a slip stitch if that makes you more comfortable, but I like doing a blanket stitch. I think it's faster and it holds up just as well, and I don't think it's super noticeable on the final garment. So there we go, that's lined up. I know you can't see the beginnings, but you can see the middle part, so that's probably more important. I'm gonna get another piece of yarn. This one needs to be pretty long because you're gonna be doing blanket stitches along this entire, it's almost a meter long, so you'll need a good length of yarn for this. I'm doing double the length I need just because I like to do double thickness for this part, because this is our joints and we want them to be extra strong. I'm gonna just do my blanket stitching here, nothing different than what we did for the other side. I'm gonna start again with, what am I gonna start with? The corners, yeah, I will start with the corners. And I'm just gonna tie them together the same way we did with the shoulders. And then I'm just gonna blanket stitch across. I'm not going to talk through the blanket stitch, I'm just gonna zoom through it because you already saw it for the shoulders. So I'm just gonna zoom through these blanket stitches, and when I get to the end, I'll show you how the sleeve is looking so far. And one other tip I've got here, if your stitches don't exactly line up, if you made your sleeve too wide and you have extra stitches, or if your body pieces were larger than your sleeves, just do your best to line up the stitches. You're not really going to be able to tell. As long as it sort of is balanced, you just want it to be even on both sides. As long as it's even on both sides, if your stitches are not exact, it's not going to screw up the whole project. So don't worry if your sleeve isn't as wide as your body pieces, or if your body pieces aren't as wide as your sleeve. It's still manageable. Okie dokie, so I just finished attaching the second sleeve. I did that one off camera. So now I've got this big, basically this big carpet type thing with a hole in the middle. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab the shoulders and fold, making it a sweater. What we're gonna do next, I'm going to be folding the sleeves as well. And we're going to start here, and I think I'm going to single crochet the armpit rather than blanket stitch, just because I think it'll be faster for me. But I'm going to single crochet down the arm until we get to that armpit seam. And then I'm gonna turn it and single crochet down the body side. And we're gonna finish it up right at the bottom, right there. So I'm going to just set that up and I'm gonna get started. I'm not really going to go through instructions on that because that's the whole instruction. I'm gonna attach my yarn at the wrist and I'm going to just single crochet to the armpit. Once I hit the armpit, I'm gonna single crochet down that way. So let me just set up for that. I'm really playing yarn chicken now. I think I'll be able to get around 4 rounds. I have this much yarn left, and I'm on my 4th round. I don't think I'll be able to make 5, but I think I can do 4. We shall see. You should pause the video here and comment down below if you think I'm gonna win Yarn Chicken or if you think I'm gonna lose. And then see at the end if you were right. It's tight, that's for sure. All right, so I'm just coming down the second side. I've got this whole side done, the whole sleeve is done, so like you could turn it inside out and it's a sweater, but we're not done yet. Now we have to add to the bottom, this round, we want to add some rib stitching. That way we're going to make it kind of match with the sleeves, and it'll also help with the double crochet not stretching out over time. So to do that, I haven't even disconnected the yarn here. It's still attached from the seam, the side seam. I'm just going to do 1 additional double crochet into the, or single crochet, sorry, into the corner, and then I'm going to chain up 2 times. I'm going to start with my chain up of 2, but then I'm going to start with a front post double crochet in that first stitch. And I'll just do a front post, and then in the next double crochet stitch, I'll do a back post. And I'm going to do that all the way across this one side of the sweater. And then I'll be doing it on the other side too. So it's going to behave like a round because now it is a round, but it's just the flat side of the hexagon that's not sewn together. You've got the 2 side seams where the body pieces sew together, and then you've got the armholes that are sewn to the sleeve, and then you've got the shoulders sewn together. So there's only one place that you can do this, and we're doing the back post, front post double crochet pattern. And we're just gonna do that all the way around. Nothing new here, not much to it. So I'll zip through this because this part is not nothing new, not anything new. It is nothing, it is nothing new, wow. But I'm going to just go all the way around here, and I think I'll do as many rounds as I can with what I've got left of my yarn. That might only be 3. I don't have much yarn left. I'll check if I've got another ball hidden somewhere around here, but I'm gonna just keep going until I run out of yarn. In a perfect world, that would be 5 rounds, but I don't know that I have 5 rounds worth of yarn left here. So if you're trying to make it look like what mine will look like, hopefully 5 rounds of front post, back post, double crochet on this bottom piece. And then from there, we're actually pretty much done. I don't think I'm gonna do anything around the neckline. I might just do a row of like single crochet if I've got extra yarn, but I don't think I'm gonna have enough extra yarn to do that, so I might just leave it as is, but we'll see when we get there. Let me just work through these front post, back posts first. Okay, I made it for 5 rounds. I won the game of Yarn Chicken. What a good feeling. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up this last round by joining it and then doing a pull through. I'm gonna leave a long tail so that I can weave in that end. And now I think we might even have enough to do a little bit around the neckline. I was thinking we wouldn't have enough yarn, and I was fine with leaving the neckline as is, but since we have a little bit of extra yarn, why don't we go ahead and do just a round of single crochets around the neckline just to secure it, make it look a little bit more polished. Okay, so for the neckline, I'm gonna switch and work on the outside fabric. So I'm gonna put the sweater inside out, because now it's actually a sweater now. That way our single crochet sits nicely on the neckline. Oh, this is cute. Okay, so I think that'll be enough to get us around the neck. So I'm gonna just join my yarn at the shoulder, and I'm gonna do a round of single crochets. I'm gonna just join by pulling up a loop at that shoulder and doing a chain of 1, and then I'm going to get started. That should just help, I don't know, tighten up the neckline, I want to say, just so it doesn't stretch out too much. You don't have to do this part though if you don't want to. You don't have to do the bottom either if you don't want to. It's already sewn together, so at this point it is already a slouchy hexagon jumper, but I feel like these little bits, they take just a few extra minutes, but they add a lot to the final project. I think we might even have enough yarn to go around the neckline twice. So guess what? That's what I'm gonna do. I like a finished neckline, so that's what I'm going to work with. If I can't get around the second time, I'll pull back, but I'm gonna do 2 rounds of single crochet, and I'll just zip through that. I'm sure I mentioned this earlier on in the video, but if you are someone who likes to have written patterns, or if you like to be able to ask questions and have people help you out with your crochet, join my Patreon. For $2 a month, the price of a coffee, you get access to all of my bullet journal patterns, and you get access to the Last Minute Laura Discord. So that's basically a chat room where all of the Last Minute Laura folks can get together and we can share pictures of our pets, we can share what projects we're working on, you can ask questions, you can ask really specific questions about the actual thing you're working on with pictures, and have people, real people in real time who are part of this community, help you out with it. I know that I've gotten a lot of inspiration from the folks in that Discord, so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, definitely join the Patreon. The link is in the description box below, and by doing that, you get all that fun stuff, but you also support me and support me making videos like this, so I'm able to keep making videos, so check it out. Also, if you are somebody who does the social medias, I am on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on YouTube. I think that's everywhere. Instagram is where I'm most active, so give me a follow there and let me know that you came from the YouTube channel. And subscribe if you're not subscribed. If it's your first time here, definitely subscribe, because this is a good place to be and it's nice to know when new videos come out. It's a good community. Definitely worth the join. All right, I am almost done my last round, and then the sweater is gonna be done. I'm very excited. Oh, I made it. No, I'm not gonna do a 3rd round. 2 rounds is good. Okay, I'm gonna join my round, give myself an extra chain 1, and then tighten it down. Cut my yarn. That needs to get woven in. Actually, no, I should weave it in before I say we're done, because I'm gonna show you what it looks like now. And there we go. So weave all your ends in, and then it's finished! We won Yarn Chicken. If you guessed that we were gonna win, you were right. And look at these sweaters. So I'm going to have to show you in some after footage, because this isn't gonna give you a super clear idea what it looks like, because I just can't get the camera far enough away. Let's do that. So here is the final sweater, friends. What do you think? I love the cuffs. I love the little bit of puffiness to the sleeves. They're not super puffy, but they do have that slouchy sort of cozy vibe. I love that. I love that all season, any season. This is gonna be a really great spring sweater for me, and if you try it, it'll be a great one for you too, because it's got that beautiful double crochet. It's a little bit more breezy, there's a little bit more give, so you'll have a little bit less warmth from this one, which is great for those spring walks, those spring hikes, all those types of things. I love the yarn I used for this, I really do. I think this is a great project. It didn't take too long. It took me maybe 4 full days of crochet, but who has 4 full days to crochet? So spread that time out and it'll take you a little longer, but let me know what you think. Let me know if you like it and if you're gonna try it out. And if you do try it, tag me in it on Instagram, or send me an email, or tag me on Facebook, all the things. Let me see it. I love seeing the things that you guys make from my videos. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you're gonna make it. And yeah, that's everything for today. I really hope that you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed making this sweater, and I hope that you enjoyed watching me do so. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing and being part of this awesome community. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!